Imagine for a moment you're in the desert of New Mexico. You stumble upon an arroyo or a washed out gully with large bones sticking out of the side due to last night's rain. But these bones are larger than you've ever seen. When you return home, you tell many people. You even take samples and send them to experts, but no one cares about your discovery. That is until after your death. This is how George McJunkin felt in 1908. Today you'll hear about the history-changing Folsom Point discovery. First, I'll talk about how Folsom Points were discovered. Secondly, I'll explain what is unique about these stone points. And lastly, I'll tell you why they are a history-changing discovery. Let's get into the details of the fascinating Folsom Point. Firstly, let's talk about the discovery. George McJunkin discovered these stone points in New Mexico. He was an African-American ranch manager in the early 1900s. He grew up as a slave in Texas and then moved to New Mexico later once he was freed. According to Nash, 2022, on August 27, 1908, an unruly storm pummeled the town of Folsom, New Mexico with 13 inches of rain. George went out to check fences after this storm to make sure they were all right. He stumbled upon a washed out arroyo, and there were many exposed bones along the side of this arroyo. Big bones, too. A lot larger than George had ever seen before, and he had seen a lot of carcasses of cows, horses, and bison. He considered himself an amateur archaeologist, so he dug up a little bit. He found some bones and some stone points, and he took them home. He showed a lot of people in his town. And to paraphrase Morrow from 2019, McJunkin even went as far as to send the samples to the Denver Museum of Natural History, but they didn't come to the site until 1925, 3 years after his death. Unknown to McJunkin at the time, these animals were bison antiquus bones. Bison antiquus are the larger relative of the bison we know today, and they are extinct. He also found stone points, uniquely fluted stone points. Those became known as Folsom points. So, secondly, what makes these stone points unique? I have an image here of the Folsom point, and as you can see, it's kind of concave on either side. That's what makes these unique. There's no other stone point like them. The reasons for this fluting on either side has been debated, but thanks to Aller and Gieb, 2000, we can safely assume that these points were fluted for the purpose of more contact with the arrow or spear shaft. As you can imagine, the concaveness on either side of the point would allow for the shaft to go up a little bit farther than normal on a normal point, and this allowed for more stability with the point and less chance of it snapping off. But fluting is very difficult. That's another thing that makes these points unique. Modern stone point makers say that there's a very high failure rate in making these. And what else makes them unique is that these fluted Folsom points were only made for a very short period of time, and nobody is really sure why. But we do know that every other stone point was made for a lot longer period of time than these stone points. Lastly, why were these points a history-changing discovery? Previously, life in North America was thought to have arrived 3,000 years ago. But Klingemann, 2023, says that originally the Folsom discovery pushed that theory 10,000 years back, but that was not accepted by historians of the time and archaeologists of the time. They were stuck in their ways and did not believe that they could be wrong. Recent carbon dating solidifies the fact that these were old points. Recent carbon dating puts them at 12,200 to 12,600 years ago. And of course, nowadays, more discoveries have been made, and we know that there are other points that are even older than these Folsom points. In closing, the unusual discovery of the Folsom Point played a crucial role in mapping out the history of this continent. The Folsom Point's unique shape made it an outlier of past technologies. So whether it be this stone, Mr. McJunkin, or the Paleo-Indians 12,000 years ago, it's important to remember the people and technologies that came before us.